Okay, we're going to move into the physical properties lab. This is super important to know, not just for this lab, but you are going to be doing a lab where you collect your own soil sample and you are going to be testing this on your own soil. So for those of you guys who are actually going to be around your hometown area, your actual house in itself, you guys should work on going ahead and getting your soil sample. And so what you're going to do is you're going to dig down the first 2 layers underneath the roots and the rocks and the debris, and then dig straight down. And I want you to fill up an entire gallon Ziploc bag size of soil. And hold on to your soil sample. And that soil sample is going to be used for labs throughout the entire class. And so you need your own. Please don't get it from the college. Please don't get it from somebody else's backyard. It's not going to make sense when you go to do all of the different projects you're going to be doing with that sample. So the purpose of this lab, soil texture is one of the most important physical properties of soil. And you saw me texture the soil a little bit when we did the soil mapping exercise. And so based on this, the United States Department of Agriculture has 12 different texture classes of soil, everything from clay to clay loam to sandy loam to just your basic loam itself. And we are going to practice how to properly read and identify whether what class of soil that a soil belongs to. And in order to do that, you have to figure out what percent sand, silt, and clay it is. So if you follow this texture side up here, and let's say that you know that something is approximately 40% clay, you can go to this mark, this little triangle where it's 40, okay, and that's that 40% clay line. And you're gonna follow that line in one direction. You're gonna come over here to your sand separate. You're gonna find that number. You would follow that in this direction going here or here. And then you're going to come over here to your silt separate, and you're going to find that line and you're going to follow that as well. So I'll do a sample for you and to show you guys when we get to that correct part. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have 3 different soil samples for you guys today. And I have 3 really nice soil samples that I've taken from various areas here around Susanville, and we're going to figure out if they are sand, silt, clay. So we're going to start with number 1. Number 1 says, collect a small amount of dry soil in your palm, approximately enough to make a small ball about 3/4 of an inch in diameter if wetted. So we're going to go to the soil, get the rocks and main debris kind of out of there. It's very soft. That's something to know. We're going to go ahead and add some water to it. Roll around in my hand. Okay, it's about a 3/4 of an inch ball. And so it says add water drop by drop to the soil to where it's the consistency of modeling clay. So it could actually use just a little bit more water. And then form the soil sample into a ball. And if you're unable to form it into a ball, then I gotta turn this sideways, sorry. So if you place the ball, or sorry, I gotta go back and read this. So form the soil sample into a ball. If you're unable to form a ball, that is if the soil is not sticky enough to form a ball, the texture of your sample is sand. Well, mine is actually able to form a ball and stay in a ball. If I throw it, it doesn't break. If it's not sand. If I was to put it in a ball that I could try to hold together and throw it, the second I tossed it, it would break into pieces. So this is definitely not completely sand. It then says place the ball of soil between your thumb and your forefinger, so between my thumb and forefinger, kind of like that last sample that I did, and begin to gently knead the ball into a relatively flat ribbon shape. As the ribbon develops, let it extend over your forefinger until it breaks on its own weight. And so that broke on its own weight. If the soil sample does not form a ribbon, the texture of your sample is a loamy sand. It formed a ribbon. And record this in the data table. If it does not form a ribbon, we continue on to the next step. So if you're able to form a ribbon that is less than an inch and it has a gritty feel to it, it is a sandy loam texture. That's actually kind of right at the inch mark, and knowing what type of soil this is, I could even try to form another ribbon that's a little bit longer. Okay, and that broke off kind of right there at the end, but that's a good example. So if you're able to form a ribbon that is less than an inch and the soil has a gritty feel, it's a sandy loam. But if you're able to form a ribbon that's less than an inch and has smooth, it's a silty loam. So this is close to that inch mark, and it definitely is silty. It feels like flour is a really good way to explain it, what it leaves on your hand. And I definitely have a loam of some kind because it has a little bit of clay because it's leaving marks on my hand. And it has a little bit of gritty texture to it, but not much. So it tells us that we're going to call this a silty loam texture, and I definitely would classify this as more of your loam soil. So if you come over here to this page of your lab, it's definitely going to be that silty loam, and just go ahead and write silty loam for sample number 1 up at the top. Okay. Then to do that next step, you're going to come over here. Thank you, Miss Kenna. To silty loam, you're going to find silty loam on your paper, and so here's silty loam, and just kind of go to the dead center of the silty loam. So we're going to go to this spot right here, and you're going to follow that line up, okay, and this is how much silt there is. So it's between 60 and 70, so this is 65% silt. You're then going to take that line and you're going to follow it down, so it's 20% sand, and you could do the math. That would be 85. It leaves 15, but you're going to follow this line all the way across, and you're going to have 15% clay. So 65% silt, 15% clay. So you would record that 65% silt, 15% clay, and then 20% sand. And so that's what you got for the first one. So for the other two, I'm going to have you figure out the percentages yourself. We're going to walk through and determine what type of soil it is, but you're going to figure that part out for yourself. So we're going to go to soil sample number 2, take a good look at it. I'm sure you've seen types of soil like this before. Definitely very large particle size. It has that, I don't know if you can hear that, super gritty sound to it. So I'm going to put a good portion of this into my hand. Try to form it into a ball. So I'm trying. It's not really sticking a whole lot. And you can hear all the noise that it makes. And I'm going to try to throw it up into the air, and it doesn't hold and form into that ball. So we know that we have a sand. I don't even really have to do any other testing past that. I can feel every single piece of grit. A good way too is to take a little portion of it and hold it up to your ear and see what you hear, and I can hear that it's sand. It's not forming into any kind of a ribbon that I can play with at all. Definitely very high sand concentration. Those of you guys who know that other teacher at the high school, Mrs. Egan, this comes from her horse field, so high concentration of sand. Okay, so now we're going to come over here to this one. Let me wash my hand off gently real quick. So this is our third soil sample. Color does play a big part in things, and we're going to use the Munsell's colored charts here next time I see you to kind of walk through this. You can see that these are in like PEDs, so to say, and these PEDs are so hard to break. That took actually quite a bit of strength, like believe it or not, and I can't really break that down much further. And that will tell you what kind of soil it is kind of off the bat. But I'm going to see if I can walk through this process. Hopefully these PEDs aren't too hard. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get some of the finer pieces. Take some of those bigger chunks out. I'm going to moisten this soil. Ooh, and as I do, you can see it automatically change shape. Got a little too much water on it. And look at all of the residue that it leaves on my hands. And it's sticky. And so anything that leaves that kind of residue is sticky, forms a beautiful, perfect ball like that, has hard clods like this. You know it's that other class of clay category. But we can go ahead and walk through this class and talk its way through. Man, everywhere that you just gently touch, it's just leaving that clay residue. So we went ahead, we do this, we do the ball test, it doesn't budge. And if you have to throw a clod at a sibling or a friend, this is the one to do because clay is going to hold its shape for a really long distance. We're then going to put it between my thumb and forefinger, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to start to form a ribbon. And that formed a pretty long ribbon, but I also moved my hand in the interim, and I think I need it to be a little bit larger because I didn't have enough to push it. See, you guys were supposed to be doing this, not me. Don't worry, you guys will get to do this eventually. Okay, so you're going to keep pushing it with your finger, and it's sticking to my hand too much to do a good job. And work your way down. And you can see that if I was to stretch that clod out, that it's at least 1.5 inches, if not longer. So if you read down on your guys' lab and it gets to number 8, it says if you're able to make a ribbon that's 1 to 2 inches long and has a gritty feel, it's a sandy clay loam. This is like super soft. It's not necessarily soft, but it's sticky and it breaks down all over your hands. It has the consistency like modeling clay is a really good way, or like a nice face mask. As you rub it across your hands. I don't feel any grittiness whatsoever. It's nice and smooth. If you're able to form a ribbon that's 1 to 2 inches and it's smooth feel to it, it has a silty clay loam. Or if it's 1 to 2 inches and it's not gritty and it's not smooth, you have a clay loam. I would definitely call this a silty clay loam because it is smooth. It's definitely very sticky. It's almost technically like a perfect clay, but that way it kind of gives you an idea of an example that's on there. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to record that here for number 3 on your chart. You're going to use the soil triangle to go ahead and decipher the percentage of the soil. Just go to the middle of that specific box. You're also going to have a worksheet that has a soil triangle with a whole bunch of examples for you guys to work through. I'm sure if you had some kind of an ag class at some point in time at school, you've walked through soil triangles like this. And if not, if you have questions, if you need help, if you need me to walk through it with you, I'd be more than willing to. Just go ahead and give me a call. But you need to be able to do this and to figure out how to make those ribbons, because when you do bring your soil into class, we're going to be practicing with this. I'd like you to have your soil absolutely no later than October 1st, please. So work on getting that 1 gallon bag of soil from home. Thank you.